What is the secret to unlocking your full potential? What makes your idols any different than you? How do you become the person you've always wanted to be in life? This is where you get all of your questions answered. My name is Justin Shank, and I sit down with some of the most epic individuals who are changing the world with their actions in business and in life. We discuss how they did it, why they pushed themselves, and more importantly, how they were able to focus on continuous growth to achieve their dreams. Welcome to the Growth Now movement. This week, I sit down with Adam Kenderdine. Now, you guys may remember Adam from a number of episodes ago where we talked about how he bootstrapped his business and was able to build a coffee and donut business that absolutely has rocked our local economy here, and he's absolutely still crushing it. But this episode's going to be a little bit different. You see, I've been friends with Adam for about 8 or 9 years, and I share a story right in the beginning of the episode of how I found out about his gift and how Adam unveiled to me that he sees dead people. And he has been able to hone that craft and become a medium and help business owners all over the country, figure out their path. And he works with angels and all this other stuff. And there's a lot of information in this episode that may confuse you, that may have a lot of questions arise, or really may pique your interest. And I think you guys are going to love how we navigate this conversation and how Adam has been able to take this gift that he's been given and truly impact lives all over the place. Happy to call Adam a friend. Happy to dive into this conversation with him. I think you guys are really going to love it. Now, before we get there, I want to remind you guys that the Growth Now Summit is just around the corner. So you want to go grab your free ticket now, growthnowsummit.com. We just added Chandler Bolt to the speaker lineup to teach you how to write a book, self-publish, and make it utilize it to grow your business. And he's absolutely going to blow it out of the water. Plus, we have a couple more announcements coming shortly. And I'm just excited to also share with you guys all of the secrets that I have for podcasting. For the first time ever, I'm opening up the vault and sharing how I've been able to grow a business, connect with some of the top people in the world, speak all over the country just because of this simple microphone and this simple podcast. And I'm excited to share that with you at the summit absolutely for free. So head over to growthnowsummit.com, grab your seat today. I cannot wait to see you there. Now, without further ado, let's get to this episode with Adam Kenderdine. Adam, welcome back to the show, man.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, this conversation is going to be just a little bit different than the one we had, 6 months ago, something like that?
I think it was over a year ago, actually.
Really? Okay.
Or maybe a year ago.
Time flies. Time certainly flies. And a lot has changed in the world in general, in your world and everything else in between. But we're going to shift perspectives a little bit. And anybody who saw you at my virtual event, they've had a sneak peek into what we're going to dive into on this conversation. But I want to preface this whole entire chat with the story of how I found out about your gifts. Mm-hmm. So you had told, you and I have been friends for about 9 years now.
Correct.
And over the last 4 years, we've become better friends. We spend more time together, maybe last 5 years or so. And a number of years ago, you and I were out, we were having dinner together, and you essentially told me, not saying it this way, but I don't remember exactly how you said it, but you're like, I see dead people. And I think it was a premise of like the coffee shop and maybe some spirits being here or something along those lines. And you're like, I see dead people. And I kind of almost brushed it under the rug. Like,
right.
I've always known that these types of abilities were out there and people have these gifts, but I didn't know the depth or the accuracy or all these things. And so fast forward about a year after that, I came into your coffee shop. My dad was visiting me from town, and my grandmother had passed away probably about a year prior, 6 months prior. And we were sitting here having coffee, and things were weird. Like I smelled smoke, and but there was no smoke anywhere. It was like all these weird things. And later that night, you texted me. My dad had already left and went back home to New Jersey. And you texted me and said, your grandmother looks an awful lot like your dad.
Yeah.
Which she does. There's no way you would have known that. Like, they look very similar. They have the same nose, same facial features. And then you went on to describe her. You went on to describe my grandfather and some personal things within that relationship that I don't want to discuss here, but some personal things in that relationship that you would not have known otherwise. And I was blown away. And all this weird stuff was happening in my house, and we'll take it even a step further, and we'll get into the details and all this stuff. But I remember that evening sitting on my couch texting you these things.
Right.
We had finally finished texting, And it was about 15 minutes afterwards. And I just remember sitting there and I got really warm from head to toe. Just super, super warm. And out of nowhere, you texted me and said, that warm feeling you're feeling right now, that's your mom protecting you from the energy of your grandmother. And I was like, you're laughing, but it was like this like groundbreaking moment of like, how did you even know this was happening? And so that was my introduction into your gift. So let's talk a little bit about when did this start for you? Like what was like the aha moment of like, okay, I have this gift type of thing?
So I've had this ability since birth. My birth was kind of challenging. I was actually born dead. So I am actually the second spirit in this body. The first one left with the death as my birth, and then I was replaced with me. So I've had this ability my entire life to see and hear things, and talking to my parents, my mom, like we were talking the other night actually, and she was telling all these stories about me talking to things as a kid and then just brushing it off and that kind of thing. And it got to a point where it got a little heavy about, I would say 10 to 12 years old. I don't really remember.
Right.
But I kind of just blocked it out and shut the door on everything. And then...
Heavy meaning what?
A lot of heavy stuff was happening in that point. It was a lot of, I would, back when I was about like 4 or 5, I would go to my grandparents and they had a little child spirit that I would play with there.
Okay.
Not to go into details on that, but that, and things like that. But then I would start getting into, but I would start experiencing like things. Now that I look back, it was angels, or the scary stuff was like demons and things like that. So really experiencing like a lot of like harsher things. That is the basis of like horror movies and stuff like that. I was experiencing when I was 10 or 12.
Yeah. So, and obviously at that age, you're like, I don't know what this is.
Right. And it was just all scary because you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no training. You can't really talk to... Well, I couldn't really talk to anyone because it's not like I had like a grandmother that was gifted or, anyone in my family that was. So it was just kind of, what do you do?
Yeah.
You just run from it. You hide from it. And
so you essentially, like, at that point, you're like, I'm done with this. I don't want to see any of this. And did it go away?
More or less, yeah. Like, okay. I would get feelings. I would see shadows. Sometimes I would hear voices every now and then, that kind of thing. And then it kind of, as I got into my teenage years and my early 20s, or my 20s anyway, it was very here and there. But nothing really started happening again until I hit about 30. And 30 is when activity started happening a lot more. And it was happening in a place. I was actually working in a restaurant at that time, and the restaurant was haunted.
Right. So
everything just came back on. It was like, someone flipped the switch and it was just back. And so I was able to figure out what was going on, because the original purpose of that restaurant was it was built at the turn of the century, and it was for the undertaker and furniture maker, which was like the same person.
Yeah.
So, in the basement where the walk-in cooler was where they used to embalm the bodies and that kind of thing. So just figuring out what was there. I was never afraid of it. I actually, at that point, I kind of ran towards it.
Yeah.
I wasn't running away from it then.
Well, you shared a story with me when, it's funny, and you're saying, I wasn't afraid of it. I would be crapping my pants if I were in your situation. But you had shared a story with me about the one time you went down and you almost ran into a spirit, and you both scared each other.
Face to face, and we both kind of were like, oh, not supposed to be here.
It's crazy. So if you talk about seeing these things or feeling energies or whatever the case may be, what does that mean? Like, maybe somebody listening is experiencing something and they're unaware. Do you see a body? Like, is it a person?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like I see flashes of things. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I can see a picture that's like moving around. Sometimes now that I've kind of developed and honed my skills, it's in my mind's eye, and I can just channel it and tap into it, and I can see it like it's a movie playing in my brain.
Yeah.
But at that point in my life, it was like, right in front of me, and it would be like flashes of things, or that kind of thing. And it was a lot of like shadows and, different kinds of things. But I was also able to, and I still can, just feel different energies, as well, and just be able to figure out what it is. But it's taking time, to figure it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just don't know right away what it is, and then I have to kind of go through the steps to figure out what it might be.
Yeah.
No,
and I can't even imagine what that's like, but I want to rewind to something you said earlier, and then we're going to get into the training that you're talking about and kind of this gift and how you're utilizing it now to help people. But you had mentioned being stillborn. To reiterate what that means is when you were born, you were dead. Like, there was no heartbeat. There was no anything. And so you said a different spirit or soul went into your body.
Correct.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's, from you, and I want to preface a lot of this conversation with, I'm learning, and I know this part of the story, but I'm learning a lot of this from you. I always knew that there was a higher power. I always knew that there was energy around me. I always believed that spirits were around, but I didn't understand what it all meant, and I didn't understand where things came from or when or why some are here and why some aren't here. And I'm learning all of this from you over the last couple of years. But talk a little bit about what that means by a spirit taking over your body. Like, usually you're dead.
Right. So, and it's not necessarily taking over your body. So let's clear that, because that's something taking over your body is evil. That's not, this is not,
you're not being possessed by this spirit.
I'm not being possessed by anything. But so what happens is we come to Earth to experience like Earth school. It's like the hardest thing that anyone could ever do is go through Earth school. So we chose to be here, is more or less it. And we get the opportunity to come to Earth. We could go almost anywhere we wanted to have a life, or at any time we wanted to have a life. But we chose this moment, and to experience humanity, to experience what it is to be human from the soul body. So we are souls. We've all had many lives. I know some people probably don't want to hear that, or it might be a little shocking to people, but we've had past lives. We'll have future lives.
Yeah.
And it's about developing our soul and our soul consciousness, and elevating our soul. So whenever we come here in human form, we always have a mission to do, or a purpose.
Sure.
And that will help, if we complete that, that will help elevate us in the afterlife. And it's about becoming almost, or being almost like perfection. Like it's being equal to, for a lack of a better term, equal to our creator, equal to source, and soft God, whatever you want to call it. We all, in the Bible, they say that we're all created in God's image. Well, that's true. We're all created in God's image. Which means if we're created in God's image, that means we all must be gods. And we all have that divine spark within us. That's our soul.
Yeah.
And so it's about developing our soul. And the best way to develop that is to come to Earth, and really live and experience, and do the work, to develop it. So, there was an opportunity for, a second soul to come to Earth, and so the universe took advantage of that, and so I'm here now.
Yeah. So that was a lot.
Right. If you've never heard this before, like
that's a lot to unpack.
You're like, hold on a second. We choose this life. I didn't have to come to Earth. What are you talking about? There's other things. I could have gone to a different time. Let's briefly touch on, and maybe we can have you back on the show in the future. We can dive deeper, but let's briefly talk on dimensions, timetables, all that stuff. And what do you mean by like, okay, because look, there's people listening to this and it's great. Like they don't believe aliens exist. They think Earth is Earth and everything kind of revolves around it. There's still people that, I actually know somebody who is a flat earther. So we're talking all spectrums of life here.
Right.
And so what does that mean? And so meaning like, okay, I chose to be on Earth. I signed this contract to say I chose to be on Earth. I chose this life. And you didn't say it during this time, but you said it to me multiple times. We choose our parents.
Right.
So let's talk about that.
So we choose before we come to Earth. We meet our parents. Our parents don't know that we're meeting our parents, but we choose our parents, and we choose. Well, first we choose the time we want to come back to, or what time we want to be here on Earth.
Right.
So we can choose any time. So just taking a step back, time only exists here on Earth. On the other side, so to say, time does not exist. So time is only a concept here. So technically you could come back at any point in time you wanted to.
Gotcha.
So first we choose the time we want to come back to, based on the purpose that we need to fulfill. So what is the best time to come to Earth to fulfill this purpose that we have? And then once we pick the time, we pick our parents. Who are the best people that are gonna be the early development of my life that is gonna help me achieve my purpose? So it's all set up to achieve our purpose, our greater good, our higher needs, and all that stuff. So we choose it all. And then we are kind of born. But it sucks, and I know people are out there going, well, I had a shitty childhood, my parents sucked. To give you a different perspective on that is also we choose our own reality as well. And that's a big thing because on the other side, there are no attachments. Here on Earth, there's attachments everywhere. Positive, negative, anything and everything are attachments. So reality is based off of your attachments on things. So if there's life is actually everything in the universe is meaningless. We only put meaning on things here. So if you knew that you were coming to Earth and you might have bad parents, but that is supposed to set you up for something else.
Yeah, so I was going to say that, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I was going to say, like...
And I'm not saying everyone had bad parents, but I'm sure there's someone listening and that is like, well, my life is completely screwed up by my childhood.
Right.
Well, and if you flip that around and you looked at the positives, sometimes, trauma is supposed to breed strength. And maybe, shifting that around and seeing where you developed and how you developed, like your soul, before it even came in, knew that you were going to go through that on a certain level. And your soul is stronger than you think because it was like, no problem. I can handle that because that's going to set me up so that I can go do this.
Do the big purpose thing.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like your soul signs this contract to say this is, for lack of a better term. So your soul signs this contract. You choose the parents. People know my story. People know my parents just from this podcast and listening. And then it's up to the individual to say, okay, how is this serving me? Right. And so there's a lot of people who don't look at it that way and they play the victim and they can't find their purpose. And then they look at that as the reason being versus the reason for. Right. And so like when I look at my childhood, obviously my parents made really bad choices, but I choose to look at the positive. They loved me and supported me unconditionally, which is why I think I could do crazy shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think so big. Because I said to my parents I was going to do something big, and they said, yeah, you will. Right? There was that great whatever. Now, if I focus on the negative, who knows where I'd be?
Right.
And so that was my soul making a choice. And then me as a human, I say, I'm going to deliver on this promise, right?
Right. And it's to that end, it's like being forged in fire. So, how do you make a stronger sword? It's by keep putting it in the fire,
right,
and tempering it. And the longer you temper it, or the amount of times you put that into the fire to make it stronger, that blade is going to not break.
Right.
So all these things that happen in our life, where we're just kind of thrown in the fire, that's tempering us. That's supposed to make us stronger, not weaker. But, because of, how we attach things here on earth, a lot of times it's negative. A lot of times we're feeling like we're the victim, when we can actually be our own hero, in our own lives and in our own stories, but we choose other ways. And, that comes down to free will, because free will gets in our way.
Right.
We make the conscious decisions here on earth to not follow our purpose or follow our purpose. But it makes it challenging, and it makes it tough. And that's why they call it Earth School, is because it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be tough.
Yeah.
It's boot camp for the soul.
Well, how do people know what their purpose is?
That's part of the whole joy and the fun of life is you can't take it too seriously. You have to be happy. You have to be joyful. And that's part of the quest here on earth. Your hero's journey is to fulfill your purpose. That's part of your awakening as well. Is everyone's supposed to try and awaken? Like right now, we're in this period of great awakening, and it's about figuring yourself out. It's about not seeing the world outside of us, but seeing the world inside of us, and looking inward. And when you look inward, you can start to get over some of your shit.
Right.
You can start looking past that and feeling it and letting it go. And once you start letting go more and more and more, you dive deeper and you start meeting your soul self. Everyone has the ability to be like me, but it takes work. So the longer that we put into this, and we look inside of ourselves, and dealing with all our shadows and all our internal struggles, the more that our internal light's going to shine through, that God light, that spark of energy.
Right. And
when we start doing that, our purpose is going to become a little more clearer. But we have to figure that out. We come to Earth and, we've forgotten the keys to unlocking our potential.
Sure.
Our soul potential a long time ago. So it's about doing the work and bringing that out, and working on it, because everyone's purpose here is different. It could be as simple as just having a happy life could be your purpose here on Earth. It's never about your purpose here is never about accumulating a mass amount of wealth.
Right.
That is just an attachment that is here on Earth. But it could be, finding love here. It could be, like I said, a happy life. It could be just the fact that you want to experience being a mom or being a dad. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Pure things.
And I love that you say that too, because I think, and I try and talk about this a lot as well. Like, your purpose doesn't always have to be this grandiose thing.
Right.
Right. It could be grandiose to you. Like, being a parent is grandiose to a lot of people. Like, and that's okay. Like, we're stuck in this world of like, oh, bigger, better, more, versus just serving the purpose within. And it's interesting to know that, like, you've gotten these answers through your gifts. And I want to get back to that as far as, and you refer to yourself as a medium, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So medium, psychic, whatever word you want. And you said anybody can have this gift, but you're somebody who you were given it as a young child.
Right.
Right. And then you've kind of revisited it now as an adult. But over the last 2 years or so, 2 years.
Really intensively the 2020.
Yeah, so 2020 when we had some downtime. When you look at that, you went all in and said, you know what, I want to explore this a little bit more. Talk about that journey, and then I want to get into like how you're using this gift to help others.
Right. So really, just trying to find a good pathway of learning, because I knew deep down that even though I had some ability, I could make those abilities better. Mm-hmm. And there's always learning to be done. We've never learned completely everything. We're never completely an expert on anything in life. There's always something new to learn. So I just took that approach with it, and I was just trying to find a pathway that wasn't like hokey to me or overly woo, or just something that just didn't feel right or fit right with, who I am, and that kind of thing. So I got into meditation, and that actually helped me a lot on many levels. It helped with my anger. It helped me with my stress and that kind of thing. But it was, I found out quickly that it was a really great way to start channeling things and really getting messages and communicating with the universe, and so to speak.
Right.
And I just followed that, and then I went to Dr. Bill's, and he was running meditations, and we were talking after class one day, and I opened up to him about my experiences, and he said, "Well, I'm in this school, and we should probably sit down and talk about that one day." And so we did, and I started the processes there soon after, and now I'm an initiate in the Modern Mystery School, and I found that to be the best pathway of learning for me.
Yeah.
To me, it's not woo, it's not hokey. It's very, the learning is very regimented, and it's very deep, and I like it because I'm always learning something in it. It's not like I'm taking classes where I know this. There's always something to learn, and there's always something to take away from it.
So what type of, like, obviously, look, you have this gift of, I always feel so weird saying it, but seeing dead people, you have this gift. You can say that,
like the kid from Sixth Sense.
No, right. It sounds weird though because of that movie.
It is.
If that movie didn't exist, it wouldn't sound weird.
It would probably sound weirder, actually.
Yeah, probably. You're right. Now, obviously, from there, and then you realized, as you look back, because hindsight's always 20/20, you saw angels when you were younger, and now you're working with them, and you're working with them more and more. Is that because of the Modern Mystery School, or were you working with them before?
The Modern Mystery School actually, it helped open the doorway to that.
Yeah,
I think I would have found it eventually, but it really just opened that door right then and there, and it was just like the floodgates opened with that, and it just really propelled me so much further.
Sure,
being able to communicate with angels, particularly archangels, and being able to get assistance from them, information, but also being able to help other people as well,
right?
Through them, has been tremendous.
So we talk about, we've said it multiple times, working with angels, working with the energies. What does that mean?
It's like anything else. It's a relationship you develop with whomever or whatever you are working with in the universe. It's like if I was working with you, we just develop and build a relationship, a line of communication.
Right.
It's the same way. Really, as much as that might sound scary, the more you talk to something, that is good for you. Don't talk to anything bad, but stuff that is of the light is the good, the light that, it's the purity, it's the love, it's the joy of the universe. Angels, and there's a lot of other beings that pop culture deems scary that are actually good for humanity. But
like what?
What do you want to know?
Well, it's funny because I feel like every time we talk and we get into this, by the way, we don't always sit around and talk about this stuff, but when we do, I always learn something new, right? Like there's always a new layer. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, what it's done more than anything, like, right, when we talk about with what we're doing with the retreat, so Adam is running a retreat with me and Lauren, my girlfriend, in March, where we're going to focus on the 4 pillars of your life, which is business, finance, relationship, spirituality, and wellness. And obviously Adam's that spirituality piece. And so spirituality has always been or played a part in my life in some way, shape, or form forever, right? Yeah. When I was younger, it was religion. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, it became more spiritual and less organized religion.
Right.
And more of like my own journey and my own understanding.
Right.
And now knowing you and being able to have these conversations and knowing more, number one, it actually solidifies a lot of the beliefs I've had my whole life.
Right.
Number two, it takes it even further to understand that although I am small in this universe, I can create a ripple in the world, in the universe, and so on and so forth, right? And so I think it's a really cool thing to be like, we all have a purpose.
Right.
And us serving our purpose creates that ripple.
And we're all here intentionally.
Right.
You know, it's not like we're just here. We're here intentionally.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that is something that has to be hit home is you're here intentionally because of the choices you made before you were even born. I mean, that's got to be impactful on some level for people to hear.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that need to hear that they're intentionally here. And what you do with that could be very profound for your life.
Yeah.
As far as driving it forward. And it's what reality you make of it, too. And it's how you see things, how you know, and it's the things that hold you back, are some of the easiest things that you could break internally.
Right.
You know, fear is a big thing that holds us back. Well, fear is just, it's an emotion. It's something that's not known in the universe. It's just something here. It's something to limit us from trying to stop us fulfilling our purpose.
Right.
Like we all have the ability to get it done. You know, we all have the energy. We all have the resources. If you start tapping into, you know, your own self and your own strengths,
yeah,
you can overcome a lot.
So how do we do that? Like, look, I'm sitting here and I've said this to you multiple times. I don't want that gift. I don't want to see these things. I want to know that they're there.
Right.
And I have a sense of feeling energy at a lower level. Uh-huh. I'm an empath, however you want to word that.
Right.
But for me, I don't want any more. But I know that I can tap into my own thing. So how can people start to tap into that where they can use it as a greater good?
You know what? I would say, you know, and I just talked about the Modern Mystery School, but it's not going to be for everyone. And I'll just tell everyone that right now. And I'm not saying everyone should run out and join that. So I just want to put that disclaimer in there. But the biggest thing that you can do, and you can do it right now, is through meditation. And any form that resonates with you, start doing. And then add a little more over time. But make it intentional in your life and make it intentional in your daily routines.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help. Through meditation is how a lot of people tap into the universe. And through meditation is how you actually tap into your higher self, your soul.
Yeah.
And you can't do it. You can do it some other ways, but the best and the easiest way is just through meditation. And I would just suggest anyone start with a guided meditation. There's an app out there that is called Insight Timer, mm-hmm. INSIGHT Timer. There's a free portion of it, but you can search thousands of guided meditations, any length of time that you want. If you need help sleeping, if you need help to de-stress, if you need help to do anything, right. There's a meditation there. And they're all live people. It's not the same voice looking at you over and over and over, or it's not the same voice looking at you. It's the same voice talking to you over and over and over again that, kind of gets a little boring, and you can switch it up. And it's just a really great app. I use it.
So one thing that I find interesting about meditation is that, and I know for a fact because I was this person, I was like, I can't meditate, I can't do that, I can't sit still for 3 minutes, let alone an hour, let alone this or that or the other thing. But what I find interesting is as you practice it, you get better.
Right.
It becomes easier, right? Like I went to the extreme, went from not being able to do it to the guided meditation for an hour with Dr. Bill, but now I can do 10, 15 minutes by myself, whereas before – no, I couldn't, right? Because my mind would jump and I'd be like, whatever. But what I want to get to is the power of meditation, not just from a calming standpoint, not just from helping you with your stress or your reactions or whatever, but the fact that you can ask for things or ask questions before the meditation, because this is connecting you to that energy, that higher power, that source, whatever. Talk a little bit about that, what that means.
Right. So you just set an intention, and it's pretty much like right before you close your eyes, just say, my intention with this meditation is blah, blah, blah. Whether it's to start trying to communicate with my higher self, or it simply is like, I just want to de-stress and relax. Mm-hmm. You put that in your brain. As soon as you start to meditate, that's what your brain's going to focus on doing for you. Through meditation. One little tip is when you do meditate, put the tip of your tongue kind of on the roof of your mouth in the front where it starts to angle up, where it starts to round, right above your teeth. And that's a little clue to your subconscious that you're going to slip into meditation, and it will actually open up your subconscious a little more than normal.
Wow.
While you're doing your breathing. So if you breathe in through your nose, make sure that your tongue is on the roof of your mouth there, right in the front there, and then out through your mouth. It's a little tricky to do, but if you practice it, it gets a little better, but you can actually feel that you slip into meditation a lot more, into a calming state.
That's interesting.
More.
So, you talk about setting this intention before you meditate. What should people at least for me before, not now, because I've learned. At least for me before, I was like, well, if I'm asking for an answer, I want an answer.
Right.
It doesn't always I don't hear voices.
Well,
I don't, you know what I mean?
Right. So some people, it might not happen right away, and it will take some time. So just be patient.
Right.
Because you might need to get to a certain point of relaxation before anything comes in, but you got to get to a certain point where you're open. Too. You might have some thought in the back of your mind that you're trying to meditate and you want messages, but not really.
Right.
So that not really is going to hold you back from receiving anything.
Right.
But meditation is a practice. So the more you do, the better it gets. And but some people might feel an emotion. Some people might hear a voice. Some people might see things. Some people might just see colors. Some people might just see pictures. Some people actually might get different smells as well. So there's different ways that the universe will answer you. And it might not actually happen in meditation. You open up the pathway in meditation, and you might get the answer later.
Right.
You might get it. You might open the pathway in meditation, but you might get the answer in a dream state while you're sleeping.
Makes sense.
Or as stupid as when you're alone in the shower, you might get the answer there too.
Yeah.
So it might, if you don't get anything right away, not a problem. Just keep meditating.
Right.
Keep working at it, because it's a muscle that will get stronger and better over time.
Yeah. So now, this is kind of the last section where we'll wrap up here shortly, but what, you're now helping entrepreneurs, business owners, influencers, all these things through this journey in a way, shape, or form. Talk a little bit about what that looks like and why you felt like you were drawn to helping the entrepreneur versus, you can help anybody, but that's kind of where you're drawn to. That's your love.
I think it was also a need at the time too.
Yeah.
So it was just a niche, and it was just a weird thing where I could, because I own my own business, I had the ability to talk to business owners in a certain way,
right? That
they would be able to get the information, process it, and understand it. So I think being on the same level as the people that I was helping was really important. But pretty much what was happening was in my meditations, right in around March, I kind of had the feeling that we were going to be in this situation with the shutdowns and COVID and everything like that. But in meditations, I started really heavily setting the intention to find the answers of how my business was going to be impacted. And I was getting answers, and I was getting direction too on things that I should shift or things that I should change or things that I should look at.
Right.
And I was doing those things and they were working. So I was like, if this works for me, I wonder if I can make it work for Justin or if I can make it work for this person. Because, I have a coffee shop. I have a lot of people here in our small community that come in that are struggling, that we small talk. I know what's going on. So I can kind of feed them a little bit of information here and there, give them maybe something to think about that might help them. So, it was starting to be like, well, let me meditate and set my intention on trying to help this person's business stay in business and what they need to do. And through the casual conversations that I would have here at the shop, I would relay what information I was getting through them. So it's through that all the psychic stuff that they needed to know to help them run their business. At no point did I ever tell any of them that this is how I was getting information on what they should do to shift.
So you weren't like, hey, John, I just want to let you know the Archangel Gabriel says you should do this.
Right. Which, don't knock Gabriel. He's a cool dude.
I'm not knocking any of them, but I think that if you said that to somebody who doesn't understand this thing, they'd be like, all right, buddy, call the straitjackets in, right? Because that's the idea behind all this. Yeah, that's the stigma. That's a great word for it.
And it's tough because, I'm a big bearded guy who's losing his hair. And so, I'm that rough guy. I don't take a lot of crap from anyone, but then it's like, hey, how do I relay information about things that I need to know? So it was very tough. So I actually had to start telling people, and it actually became fun because I was able to help them on a better level than just the surface level, because then we were able to go a little deeper. But, in the beginning, it was like, well, not only angels, but, all kinds of different things. It was like, and through my life too, it's like, well, grandma's telling you need to do this. I'm like, how do I work this in on this date that this girl needs to talk to her grandma about something,
Dude, I just love how you've been on dates where their family members are coming in that have passed and trying to tell you things.
Right.
Hey, just so you know, your grandma Dorothy's over here saying that you need to. It's unreal. But that, and that's the gift you've been given. And from the standpoint of how accurate it is, I'm blown away all the time by things that you said that have become true. I remember early on in COVID, you and I had a conversation where I was like, I don't know how long this is going to last. And you're like, buckle up for the whole year. And here we are, right? Knowing that this is what was going down. And then you're like, oh, by the way, buckle up for the decade. Not necessarily because of COVID, but because of other things. And now we see all these things going on.
Right.
But also something small. I had the podcast does great. My social media is par to subpar, right? I had posted something that you kind of said, hey, this is the message that you need to be saying right now.
Right.
And I posted this. It was my only viral content. It's got shared over 200 times on Facebook.
Right.
All these things. And it's really about not only – and I'm going to take you out of the equation here really quick. I listened to you and I did it. But let's take you out of the equation. Sometimes we have to stop and listen to what we feel the universe is saying. Right. So there's a lot. Yeah. Our intuition, because we ignore it a lot because we second guess ourselves and we do all these things. Now, and the cool part is you've gone on to help, former guests of my show. You've helped a bunch of people. So if anybody's listening right now who is interested in any of these things that we talked about, whether it's coming to hire you to do a reading or going to hire you because they've lost a loved one, where do they go? How do they reach you? What's the best stuff?
Social media is the best way that anyone can get a hold of me. Through Facebook, just search my name. I'll probably pop up. But maybe when you post this, I'll share my Calendly link so that people can just go right in and see what I do, because I do other things. I can do remote energy clearing, so I can clear people's houses or offices or whatever needs to be done, and reset the energy inside. I can do distance healings, as well as in-person healings. The clearings I find really cool. They're fun.
Yeah.
I can...
There's something else I need to share that just popped in my head. So, first of all, to talk to that really quick. Yeah. So please find Adam on social media. He's also at Moose, the one and only, I think,
on Instagram.
Yeah. But we'll tag these up on social media when I post about it. But with that being said, you talk about these clearings that you do, and you go in and you do negative energy clearings in people's houses, and you can literally know what is happening in these people's houses. I wouldn't have believed you. Like, this to me sounds super far-fetched still to this point, right?
Right.
Super far-fetched. But early on, I told the story about my dad was here, and then you're like, your grandmother looks awful like your dad. Part of the story I didn't share was my dad now lives in the house that my grandmother and grandfather lived in and died in.
Right.
And this was all part of the energy that was happening and all these things. Anyway, I digress.
I remember this because this really freaked you out. And I was having a blast.
It freaked me the hell out.
Talking about this.
A couple days after that, I come back into the coffee shop and you go, hey, come here. And I walk behind the counter and you had a napkin and a pen and you literally drew the exact outline to my dad's basement, where the steps were, where the storage closet was, where the bar was, where the pool table was. And I was floored. But this is literally, you get these, you can see these things, so you can go into people remotely and clear these things out. It's unbelievable.
I only do it if there's a need, so I don't just do it.
He's in your house right now.
I'm in your house right now. Don't look under the bed. No, but we were talking about it, and we were talking about an issue your dad was having at the family home.
Yeah.
The home that your grandfather built. And there was some issues with the basement. And I said it was, actually, if we can get a little personal, I said it was your grandfather. And you said, no, it had to be my grandmother.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's your grandfather. So then we kind of had like a little back and forth argument because I know I'm right, and
and I always know I'm right.
Right. So then the next time I had drawn up the diagram of the basement and showed actually where
the energy was coming from.
The energy was coming from and where his grandfather was, and it was actually where the exact spot that your grandfather used to hang out in when he was alive.
Yeah, when he was alive,
his spot.
He would literally he circled the place where in the basement there's this bar, and we'd always be down there for like Christmas Eves as a kid. Like, that's where we went for Christmas Eve.
Right.
And my grandfather would be behind the bar. By the way, he didn't drink, but he would be maybe 2 beers a year. But he would be behind the bar the whole time, sitting on this stool, exactly where you circled. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe you were right. And so I finally admitted that I was wrong.
Right.
And you were probably right. But it was just absolutely unbelievable. And that's the ability that you have. And it's constantly getting better. It's constantly – and what I love about what you do, it's given in a way that's very no nonsense. Like, this is the facts. Like, this is what it is. This is what I'm getting.
Right.
There's no I'm not going to say it the way I normally say it because it might offend some people, but it's very directed. It's how it should be for most people, as they can receive it better that way. And that's what I love about it, man. I believe you're going to be on the show again in the future. We're going to dive into different, because there's so many different directions we can go into. And I would love to have you back later to dissect certain avenues and things and so on and so forth. But dude, this was amazing. Again, how do people find you? What's the best way they can reach out?
Social media, Adam Moose Kenderdine on Facebook, or Moose
the one and only
_ the one and only on Instagram. But I'll post my Calendly link then once I guess this is posted on social media, and then people can go right to my Calendly link to book an appointment or whatever if we need to just chat. There's different healings on there, but there's also a meeting that we can just set up as well. But with one thing with a lot of the people that I help, and I just want to end on this, is because I think it's important, is through 2020 and through 2021, we need to really be working on ourselves. We need to do some type of personal development on any kind of level that is, in improving your life in even a small way, is going to help you launch forward for the next few years, even for the rest of your life. But what's going to happen is it's with the energies shifting and everything like that and everything going on in the world. If you aren't trying to improve yourself, you're going to get left behind. And I don't want to say that in a harsh way.
Yeah.
But you're going to be affected by it and you're going to be impacted by it because it's going to drag you down. If you're working on yourself, you're improving yourself, you're staying at a higher vibration. And when we talk about energies, high vibration is the happy feelings and emotions,
right.
Joy, love, happiness, and all that stuff keeps you in high vibration. That attitude, that positive attitude keeps you in high vibration. And that is what's going to help you achieve greater in your life. If you're in low vibration, depressed, unhappy, sad, angry, all that stuff is in low vibration, you're going to have a harder time progressing in life.
Yeah.
So you have to, one of the messages that I actually found, that I was actually given was to tell people to find the joy in every moment of their life, to try and find fun or try and find joy in even the small moments that might bring us down. And that's going to make and shift your perspective on a lot of things. Instead of looking at things negatively, you might start looking at things positively. And when you start looking at things positively, you're going to see the opportunity in things. And then you'll be able to do more things and achieve more and do more and find things that you didn't actually think you were able to do, or see a new opportunity and level up your life.
Yeah.
You're only going to do that if you're in high vibration. You're going to miss that stuff if you're sad and down on yourself or playing victim or whatever else on a certain level. Now, if you have a lot of things going on, seek professional help. Crystal clear on that. Professional help.
No, nothing wrong with a therapist, but I love the fact that here's the challenge, right?
Right.
You have to choose positivity and high vibe before you're granted positivity and high vibe.
Correct.
And that sometimes is the hard part for people, but you need to find a way to flip that switch.
Right. And that's the universe answering back. If you're in high vibration, the universe is going to answer back in high vibration.
Yeah.
If you're in low vibration, the universe is going to give you low vibration stuff. It's what you put out is what you receive. Dude,
so true.
But on that too, a lot of people are stuck on self-worth. And there's a great prayer that I do every day that helps me with my self-worth, because it's something that I need to work on as well. I actually pray to the angel of worth. It's an actual angel. Like I said, I talk to angels, all the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, all of them, and plus other angels, because they're all over the place. And angels will only help you if you ask them for help.
Yeah.
That's their whole purpose, is to help humanity. And they're lost because we forgot about them. But the angel of worth is exactly what his name says. Excuse me. And he helps us with our own worth, our self-confidence, and our self-love. And he helps us with those things. And all you have to do is do a quick prayer to him in the morning and just say, I pray to the angel of worth for strength and guidance. Shine your radiating light down through me. Help me to shrug off past thoughts, emotions of doubt and worry. Help me to feel self-confident. Help me to feel self-loved. And help me to feel worthy in all that I do today. Amen. And if you say that prayer and you say that prayer enough, that angel hears you. He's going to be working with you. He's coming in right now. And if you actually said that, you could probably feel the goosebumps on your arms right now, because he just came in for you. But anytime that you're in doubt, after you say that prayer, just close your eyes and say out loud, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. And let him come in, and he will come in and help you. And you will feel the shift in perspective. You will feel the shift in your own energy and your own attitude by just saying, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. Because I am is just a power statement, but putting worthy behind it, that will help you get over difficult things too. Going in for a meeting, you're nervous. I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. Going on that hot date, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy.
Unless her grandmother pokes her head in.
Right, well, that's a different situation altogether. Sorry, honey, you might not get a second one after this.
No, I love it, man. And guys, please, if you just heard that, rewind that segment and say that prayer with Adam. Especially if you're struggling with the self-worth things, as so many people are. I think that was super powerful, man. This episode was awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Yep.
And I'm sure you'll be back. So we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Growth Now movement. This is how you can really help me out. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And let's grow this movement to epic heights. And it's all going to be because of you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.